I'm a sound engineer who was hired to record a demo for a local band. The drummer had absolutely no sense of rhythm. He was speeding up and slowing down constantly. After a few agonizing takes, the lead singer pulled me aside and said, "Hey man, no worries. We can just fix it in post, right? You can just auto-tune the drums." I had to gently explain that auto-tune corrects pitch for singers, not the fundamental timing and rhythm of a drum kit. I was hired to DJ a fancy corporate awards dinner. The CEO came up to my booth and said he wanted me to play upbeat dance music, but it needed to be quiet enough for people to hold conversations at a normal volume. He wanted the energy of a packed nightclub, but at the sound level of a library. He then suggested I turn down the bass volume but turn up the dance volume, as if those were two separate knobs on my mixer. I'm a professional pet groomer. A customer brought in her perfectly white standard poodle and asked if I could dye it to look exactly like a tiger. That wasn't the weirdest request I've had. The weird part was her follow-up question. "And can you make the stripes move? They should shimmer and sort of crawl around a little bit. It's for a very fancy party." I had to explain to a grown woman that hair dye is unfortunately not an animated substance. I used to work Tier 1 IT support. A woman called in absolutely furious because her brand new expensive laptop was defective. "The cup holder is broken," she yelled. I was confused, as no laptop has a cup holder. I asked her to describe it. "You push the button, the little tray comes out. But when I put my coffee mug on it, it just slides back." And it took me a full minute of stunned silence to realize she was talking about the CD/DVD drive. I had to gently explain its real purpose without laughing. A customer came into our artisan bakery and asked for a custom birthday cake. Her list of requirements was as follows. It had to be gluten-free, sugar-free, fat-free, dairy-free, and completely carbohydrate-free. After a moment of silence, I explained that what she was describing was not a cake, but essentially a block of flavored ice. She got offended and said we weren't being accommodating to her ultra-healthy, zero-compromise lifestyle and stormed out. A new client sent me all the text for his company's website in a series of over 40 blurry, poorly angled screenshots he had taken of a Microsoft Word document on his computer screen. When I politely asked if he could just email me the original Word document, he said his printer was broken and this was the easiest way to digitize the content. The fee I had to charge him to manually retype everything was more than the entire design project itself. As a business consultant, I was approached by a startup founder to review his business plan. The plan projected the company would be massively profitable from the very first day, all with a starting investment of $0. When I gently walked him through the concepts of overhead, startup costs, and cash flow, he accused me of being too negative and said my traditional mindset was stifling his disruptive innovation. As a freelance video editor, I had a client who wanted me to create a 30-second promotional video for his product. After I sent the final cut, he called me disappointed. "It's good," he said, "but you forgot to make it go viral." I explained that virality is an organic social phenomenon. He cut me off. "Look, I'm paying you for a service. Just go back into your editing software and add the viral effect before you export it this time. I'll pay the extra for that feature." I was working as a personal trainer. A new client signed up wanting to lose 40 pounds in 1 month for a reunion. His two conditions were that he refused to change his diet of daily fast food and soda, and he would only work out for 10 minutes twice a week. He then asked, with a straight face, "Don't you have one of those special machines that just vibrates the fat off? I'd rather do that while I watch Netflix." "Let's just do that for 10 minutes. He canceled his membership when I said that wasn't a real thing. A prospective client wanted me to build him a website for his new financial consulting business. One of his must-have features was a page that would accurately predict the stock market's performance for the following day with 100% certainty. He told me, if Google can predict traffic jams an hour in advance, this should be simple. He offered me a 1% stake in the guaranteed billions we would make. I told him if I could do that, I wouldn't be building websites for a living. A client hired me to design a logo for her new stealthy startup. Her primary requirement was that the logo needed to be completely invisible, but only to her competitors. She wanted to know if I could use a special frequency or a type of digital ink that only her true, loyal customers could perceive. She was dead serious. I had to have a very long conversation explaining the difference between graphic design and literal magic, and that I couldn't, in fact, create a cognitively selective image. I was designing a marketing brochure for a car dealership. The owner told me their main brand color was red. When I sent the first proof using a standard bright red, he called and said it was the wrong red. I asked for a Pantone or hex code. He replied, I don't have one. Just match the color of my car. He then sent me a single blurry photo of his red sports car taken at night under a yellow street lamp with his phone's camera flash on. A client at the law firm I worked for wanted to know if he had grounds to sue the local weather station. His reason wasn't a faulty forecast that caused financial loss. Instead, he claimed he was personally offended by the constant reporting of rain. He argued that their gloomy and pessimistic tone was negatively affecting his mood, and that he wanted to sue them for emotional distress caused by accurate meteorological reporting. I'm a freelance content writer. A client who ran a holistic wellness blog hired me to write an article on a topic of his choosing. The topic was the supposed health benefits of sun gazing, staring directly at the sun to recharge your pineal gland. When I refused on the grounds that it was dangerously irresponsible advice that could cause blindness, he became irate. He accused me of being a paid shill for the big sunglass industry and trying to suppress ancient, powerful knowledge from the public. A woman hired me to proofread her 800-page fantasy novel. Her only instruction was that my job was to read through the whole thing and find all the spelling and grammar mistakes, but do not change any of the words, punctuation, or sentence structure. She essentially wanted me to provide a detailed report of all errors without actually being allowed to correct them in the manuscript. She said she wanted to approve each change individually. I'm an architect, and a very wealthy client commissioned a large guest house for his estate. His one non-negotiable design feature was that the building could not have any corners. Every wall had to be a seamless curve. After I presented the astronomical cost and engineering difficulties, he sighed and said, "Okay, fine. Just one corner, then a master corner, if you will. Put it right in the middle of the main room so we can all look at it and appreciate it." As a wedding photographer, I got a call from a groom about a month after I delivered his photos and album. He explained that he and his wife had split up, and he had a new girlfriend he was much happier with. He then asked for my rate to Photoshop his new girlfriend's head onto his ex-wife's body and all. 800 wedding photos. He argued, "I already paid for the beautiful backgrounds and my suit looks great. It's cheaper than a new wedding." I had to politely explain the technical and ethical reasons why that was an impossible and insane request. A high-end restaurant owner hired me to redesign his dinner menu. He was extremely particular about the fonts. After I presented several elegant options, he rejected them all, claiming they didn't taste right. He would squint at the page and say things like, "No, this one tastes too salty," or "This one is a bit bland. I need a font with more zest." He genuinely believed in a form of synesthesia where fonts had flavors, and we had to find one that tasted delicious. A client called me, an IT consultant, complaining that his office internet was too slow. He asked if I could come in and install more internet for him. He had a fundamental belief that the internet was a finite resource physically contained within the router, and that when it got slow, it meant you were running low. He asked me to go to the internet store and buy a few more gigabytes of Wi-Fi that I could then pour into his system to speed it up. A client hired me to ghostwrite his autobiography. His main instruction was that the story of his life as a suburban accountant needed to be structurally and thematically identical to the Harry Potter series. He wanted me to invent a secret magical world of accounting, complete with rival firms casting dark auditing spells, and a wise bearded mentor who would teach him how to find tax loopholes using an ancient leather-bound ledger. Working at a full-service print shop, a man came in and asked me to print one thing on a standard A4 sheet of paper. The sentence, "This page is intentionally blank." I printed it for him, and when I told him the total was 25 cents, he became irate. He argued that since the page was intentionally blank, he shouldn't have to pay for it. His logic was that he was paying for the idea of the page being blank, not the physical ink and paper it was printed on. Working as a car mechanic, a customer came in for an oil change and asked for a quote on a special modification. He wanted us to install a left-handed steering wheel because he was left-handed and felt the current setup was discriminatory. He was convinced that a car designed for lefties must exist and that it would be more comfortable for him to steer with his dominant hand, despite the fact that both hands are typically used for driving. I'm a mobile app developer. A very enthusiastic entrepreneur pitched me his idea, an app that translates a baby's cries into coherent conversational English. He didn't mean simple translations like "I'm hungry," but detailed outputs like "My diaper is uncomfortably bunched on the left side, and I would prefer the formula to be 2 degrees warmer." He had a full business plan but couldn't understand why this was fundamentally impossible from a technological standpoint. I was hired to manage the social media for a new local cafe. After 2 weeks, the owner pulled me into her office, upset that the Instagram account only had 200 followers instead of the millions she expected. She then demanded that I call the CEO of Instagram and ask him to feature the cafe's account on the main discovery page. She was utterly convinced that all famous accounts got their start because they had a secret direct phone number to the top. I used to tutor a high school student in chemistry. His father called me absolutely livid that his son had only received a B on a major exam. He said, "I'm paying you good money to put the knowledge directly into his head. Can't you just do it for him? I'll pay you double whatever your rate is to just go in and take the final exam for him." He was seriously trying to hire me to impersonate his 16-year-old son in a chemistry final. An aspiring entrepreneur wanted me to build his e-commerce website. His revolutionary business model was that he would only accept payment after the customer had received and used the product for at least 30 days. If they were happy, they could then choose to pay. He couldn't grasp the concept that nearly everyone would simply take the free product. He called it the ultimate trust-based, customer-centric business model that would surely disrupt Amazon. A real estate agent hired me to photograph a house. The living room had a massive, undeniable crack running straight down the main wall. She told me to just Photoshop it out of existence in all the photos. I told her that was illegal, as it's fraudulent misrepresentation of the property's condition. She waved her hand dismissively and said, "It's not a lie if the picture looks good. The new owners can just hang a big painting over it. What they don't know won't hurt them." I'm a commercial photographer, and I was shooting a campaign for a new line of luxury waterproof watches. We did a whole setup with splashing water and beautiful droplets on the watch face. The client's main feedback was that the water looked too wet. I asked him to clarify. He said the shininess and the clear liquid quality of the water was distracting from the watch itself. He asked if I could Photoshop it to look like matte water instead. I still have no idea what matte water would even look like. A client hired me to run his brand's Twitter account. For the first week, he gave me a list of A-list celebrities like The Rock and Taylor Swift and told me my primary task was to get them to tweet about our product. When I explained that this isn't really how social media marketing works, he got frustrated and said, "Then what am I paying you for? Just send them a direct message and tell them it's very important, and that I said they should do it."